Hello and welcome. We're just going to give it a minute or so just to see, make sure everyone who may be late can join us as well. And also making sure that my computer doesn't have a breakdown and start taking off a lift off. Okay, there we go. Get rid of some of those apps and those tabs. Oh, people popping in. Nice. Some familiar names there as well. All right, I think we'll get started. So, hello everybody and welcome. Today is our product demo series episode 2, and the focus of today is going to be very much around the competitor analysis and the tools in which Pi has to kind of start to understand this. So today's session will be all about understanding the different ways that you need to analyze your competitors and how you do that by utilizing the tools that Pi has. But before I get into all of that, there is a little bit of housekeeping I just need to go over. So if you do have any questions about what we're going through today, stick them in the question box and I'll do my very best to answer those at the end. If you want to use the reactions on here, please do tell me if you're liking it or not liking it. This session is being recorded, so if you do miss any of it, we can send you that after as well, and that'll go out to anyone that's signed up. And then finally, probably the most important part is around the feedback. And for me, any feedback you've got about today's session, anything else that you'd want to see from these sessions, and if you've got any kind of ideas that you want to see from the next ones, or you want to hear more of John Earnshaw instead of me, stick it in the feedback area, and then we can have a little look at that as well. All right. So today's session, what we're going to cover. So Pi's got a huge amount of competitor analysis tools, okay? Ways to discover new competitors, ways to identify the performance of your competitors and you versus those competitors as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at 4 different tools. A competitor discovery tool. We're also going to look at share of voice tools as well. We've got 2 different ones that we're going to identify in that particular area. And share of voice is all about understanding the value of keywords and how you perform on that kind of value level, okay, and how that breaks down. And they're also going to be looking at Mr. Earnshaw's favorite tool in Pi, the visibility indexes as well, okay. So I'm now going to jump into the platform and hopefully you can start to see what I'm seeing here. So I'm just going to share that. I'm just going to check to make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. You are indeed. Brilliant. Okay. So what we're going to look at first of all, so whenever you log into Pi, you go straight to your dashboard. And the lovely thing is most of your competitive analysis tools are sitting straight on your dashboard. But I'm actually going to start on a different one. So if I open up the navigation here, what you do is you can go to the performance area and your competitor benchmarking area. And the tool that I'm going to start at is that competitor discovery area. And this is a lovely tool just to get kind of a quick analysis based on the most recent data to understand your competitor landscape. So in this particular example, I'm going to be looking at the US electricals area in computing. I can choose to include or exclude different search features. So if I wanted to do discovery just on answer cards or just on images or video content, I could do it in that particular way. Or if you want to look at the entire landscape, you can do it in that way as well. For now, I'm just going to look at the classic blue links just for this example of today. And then I'm going to choose my categories, if you will. Okay, so I'll pick here laptops and MacBooks and iPads and tablets as 2 different areas. And what it's going to do, it's going to go away, look at yesterday's data, and it's going to understand based on the categories that I've selected, who are the best performing sites, and we're going to have a little look at the top 20 to begin with. Okay, and what it's going to do, it's going to present me with a chart to begin with, and that is giving us quite a lot of information straight away. So what it does is it takes the keywords from those categories that you want to look at, and what it's doing is, first of all, giving us a visibility score. And I'm going to go into visibility scores a little bit later, because that's how the indexes are calculated. Okay. But what it does, which is really important, is firstly tells us the sites that are performing the best. But then it really goes quite intricate and starts to break down the performance of these sites, where what percentage have they got in positions 1 to 3? What percentage are they getting 4 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 50, and so on. So we can get a clear understanding based on these keyword categories. Well, who are the best performing sites? And really importantly, where are they currently positioned? Okay. As I go down, what we then start to get is the full top 20 here. And if I see someone of interest, I don't know, Costco's as an example, I can click onto Costco's. I can understand what the average position is, but really importantly, I can then break that down by the different subcategory levels that I want to look at as well. And what this is it's giving you that comprehensive view of the market. We're treating all of the keywords equally. Okay, we're looking at how many keywords we're returning for in that particular space. We're getting that average position and that visibility score. But the really important part is we're actually starting to understand, well, where are these sites performing really, really well? Where have they got that page one dominance? Now, if I look at Best Buy at the top as an example, well, I can see that they do fantastically well in the laptops and MacBooks. Nearly 45% of those terms are sitting in positions 1 to 3. Okay. Now, at this moment in time, what we've looked at is kind of a spot check based on yesterday's data, but keeping all keywords treated evenly. What we're going to do next is move on to where we start to understand this from more of a value point of view and the share of voice point of view. So if I jump back into my dashboard, the second chart that I want to show you is called share of voice leaders. Okay, now for me, whenever I get to demo this to any businesses, they really love the way that this data is presented. Okay, so here what you can do is you can build out loads of different categories and subcategories and even markets if you wanted to. And what it does is it takes all of the keywords from all of those categories and subcategories, and it applies a special value to each individual keyword. So what I mean by that is it looks at things such as search volume, CPC, competition rates, and each keyword has its own unique value based on demand and the value of that keyword. Then what we do is we put them into keyword categories. So here I've got a dashboard on Target, so I can see that Target have a 1.53% market share. But I can also see that Amazon here have a 6.35% market share. But it doesn't just give you what the market share is, it actually tells you how that market share is actually built up. So here I can see Target do really well in mobile phones, but not so well in home appliances, and not so, actually pretty good in small appliances. But this is where it gets really clever. So what we can do next, so if I wanted to look at home appliances as an example, I could go up to here, click on home appliances, and what it does is recategorize who are the best performing sites based on this particular area. So I can see straight away Home Depot are the market leaders by far based on the home appliances area. Best Buy becomes second, Lowe's goes up to third. But not only that, we get everyone's share of voice or market share, but we're also starting to understand, well, how is that market share built up based on the categories that either Pi can define, or that actually if you want to build out your own categories and your old keyword groups, well, you can do that as well, and it will produce exactly the same outputs. Again, we give you in this instance the top 30 based on all of your categories, and you can even come all the way down to the table area. And if I wanted to know, well, who's performing best just in fridges and fridge freezers, I can go into here and I can reorganize them by that particular subcategory as well. So what this has done is it's looked at the last date point. So this is all quite fresh data. The last two tools that we've looked at is very much on a fresh data. But what we also need to understand is how is that changing over time? And that takes me on to the next two tools. So the next two tools, firstly, what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at this share of voice, but over a period of time. Okay. So if I go into here, again, my dashboards, what we have on our dashboard as well is we've got the share of voice leaders that we've just looked at, but I can also then start to plot different sites over time as well. So if I go into here, share of voice timeline, what we're going to do now is actually pick different sites that we want to see, well, what's going on in a particular market. Okay, so we're taking all of the keywords from all of the groups, and what we're doing on a weekly basis is looking at Amazon, Costco's, eBay, Target, and Walmart. And what I can start to understand is, well, who's performing well and how is the market changing? So this is where it gets really, really important, because I can see here that there was actually a drop from Walmart around the 21st of August into the 28th of August. They really took a bit of a hit at that particular point in time. If I go up here, what this is also doing is annotating what's been happening with the algorithm as well. So if I can see here, that point there, interestingly, there was an August core update that happened at that particular point in time. Whilst it may have affected Amazon, definitely didn't affect Target, and definitely didn't affect these other ones here, it really affected Walmart at that particular time. And actually, it hasn't recovered from that. And if anything's happened, it's actually got a little bit worse for Walmart when we're looking at the drop-offs that they've had. And if again, I go up here, I can see there was another spam update in October, as well as another core algorithm update in October as well. The only good bit of news for someone like Walmart here is it looks like it is improving. And if we look here again, that reviews update seems to be an area where it did make a bit of a dent on their positive performance. Now, with all of this, what we can do is we can go into each individual subcategory and actually see where that impacts sites the most. So again, Walmart dropping off completely here. What's quite nice here is actually Target starts to go up, but then again, it gets quite volatile and drops down. So we're keeping an eye on not just your site, but every site. And it's not just about maybe what's changing on their websites or what their SEO behavior is, but it's actually what the algorithm behavior is doing to all of these sites' performance as well. Again, if you want to go down, you can actually start to look at all of the sites and see the percentages that they've lost over a period of time as well. Now, that's looking at share of voice, and that's looking at kind of on a timeline point of view. What we can also do, and this is John Earnshaw, a little nod to him. This is probably one of our original tools that John created, but also probably one of our most used tools in Pi, and that's visibility indexes. Now, whereas in the last chart I was showing you it on a weekly performance, and each key term had a value associated with it, what's actually going on here, if I jump into one of these, I'll go into computing, is what we're starting to understand now is what's going on a daily basis and how is that affecting the performance of, again, the sites that you want to choose to compare yourselves against. Now, if I go up here a little bit and actually extend the timeline on this, let's actually go have a look over the last 12 months. What you might see here is kind of a differing picture. And the reason for that is that we're taking the value of those keywords away. And we're treating, again, like the first tool, the competitor discovery, every keyword evenly. And what that does is it paints a picture of the site's health in regards to its rankings. So I can see here there's a bit of fluctuation happening at this particular point here. Okay, so what happens at that point? Well, actually, I created an index and added some extra search terms to this index at that point. So that's why we've seen a bit of movement. But again, here, very clearly, I can see at this point, Walmart going all the way back to February last year, that something happened there. Again, I've added some more terms. So it's not just about algorithm updates and how they affect your visibility, but am I adding more pieces of data? Am I removing data from my workspaces? And how is that affecting my performance? Again, if I go down here, we can also see any movement that's happening positively or negatively for any site. The other lovely thing about this data is that if I want to harness and focus on one particular site, and here I want to pick on target, well, what it's going to allow me to do is then get a comprehensive view, something happened here, helpful content update, about how target are doing on every single subcategory level as well. And this works at any site that you want to look at, any competitor's site or even your own sites. And what we're seeing here is, well, actually desktops and PCs over the period of time of our choosing, they've actually gone up. But as you can see, there's more red than green here. And actually they're losing a lot of their visibility and their performance based on most of the other categories. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good idea about some of the tools in Pi. There's a lot more. There's probably loads of cert feature tools I could have shown you and other ways of looking at the competitor landscape, but those are the core ones today that I wanted to show you. So if I now share this tab instead, what I'm going to do is open up to see if there are any questions. So let me have a little look. Any questions here? Okay, yes, bear with me. Okay, good question actually. Okay, how is our share of voice calculated? So really good question. So lots of tools out there, when they calculate share of voice, they use only search volume. Okay, and that's a good thing to use because it's a really good marker to understand the impact or how much a particular keyword is searched. But what we like to do is use the search volume, but actually use PPC levels or the average CPC at that particular point in time and how competitive that keyword is as well. And what that does, for me, it starts to show a sign of intent. And what I mean by intent is we understand that the more that businesses are spending on a keyword or the amount of money they're spending on a keyword, the more likely that keyword is to convert at a particular value. So we're utilizing that mechanism and understanding the value. And what that does is it creates an organic value score for every keyword, and then we apply that to share of voice. If that didn't make sense, please send us an email afterwards, and I'll try my very best to go into a little bit more detail on that as well. I've got another question in here. Are users able to add their own custom annotations to visibility indexes? Good question, actually, really good question. So 100% yes, and it's not just to visibility indexes either. You can actually add annotations or personal annotations anywhere in Pi. So most of the annotations, well, all of the annotations I showed you today were very much based on algorithm updates or adding data or anything like that within Pi. What you can also do is you can also understand if you made a migration or you implemented loads of hreflangs or you made loads of changes to content, well, you can put those annotations in Pi. And what we do is we differentiate the two. We have user annotations, and then we also have what we call kind of Pi Auto annotations. I can't remember the exact name for it, but it's something like that. And what it will allow you to do is kind of almost filter. So can I see only my annotations? Yes, you can. And here's how it's affected your performance. And what you can also do is see, well, algorithmic ones as well. How has that also affected my performance as well? Okay. Again, hopefully I've answered that pretty well. Let me just have a little look. I think that is it, actually. If there's no more questions, what I'll do is I'll go through the last slide here, that if you do want to kind of see a demo of Pi, or you want me to take you through your competitor landscape or one of the team here to do that for you, please get in contact, book yourself a demo, and we can show you, well, maybe how your world looks based on Pi data and how we kind of organize it. So thank you very much for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed. And there isn't one in December. We're having a month off, but we should be catching up again in January and in 2024. Thank you very much.